Welcome to another episode of Chat with Chatto.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Jason Ramos with Good Vibes Real Estate Solutions. Welcome to another episode of
Chat with Chatto. Welcome everybody. Once again, we are broadcasting not together with each other, but Jay is still at home, and we are still here making things happen and bringing you a video every single Wednesday like clockwork. So, Jay, wanted to talk to you today.
All right, so guys, before we get into our topic for today, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at questions@goodvibesre.com. We love hearing from you guys. We want to hear more questions. Tell us how we can better help you, and that's what we're doing this for. So, guys, questions@goodvibesre.com. Please reach out to us.
Absolutely, love to hear from you. So, Jay, we're working on a deal with our dispositions manager, and we were having a little trouble with one of our buyers, which is what prompted this conversation.
Yeah.
And you know what? That made me think back. Memories. You remember Liberty Street when we had another wholesaler bring a buyer, and they're a solid buyer, and they had to use their own title company, and they're closed every day in September, and all that?
Yeah, I remember that. Oh, that was a freaking nightmare.
Yeah, so that's where we learned our lesson.
Okay.
So what's the lesson that we learned?
So the lesson that we learned with dealing with buyers is you, meaning us, whoever has the contract has to control the whole thing, okay? You cannot allow them to use their own title companies. They have to go by your terms, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. You are in control. This is your deal, and you are in control of the contract. If you leave it up to the person, the buyer, and let them run roughshod, they're going to miss the deadline. You have a deadline with the seller to close this thing. If you allow them to use your title company, their own title company, and they have a good relationship with that company can delay this transaction, and you won't even know about it.
Absolutely.
So we're going to go over a couple of things that we experienced.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have the deal sold. Another wholesaler brought the buyer. That wholesaler vouched for the buyer. This buyer closes quick, uses this title company all the time. And, we, out of desperation to get the deal done and get the deal sold, is a space we shouldn't have been in, but a space we were in, yeah, sure, no problem. And at the end of the day, that transaction got delayed almost 2 months. I remember you were dealing with the seller, Jay.
Yeah.
And he's asking what are all the delays about?
Yeah. So it's not fun when you're not in the loop and you're not in control of everything and you don't own the title company. You are the middleman basically, and you are just like trying to appease this seller. This seller, when you lock up a deal, me personally, when I lock up a deal, I'm reassuring this seller. I'm selling them a bill of goods like, hey, we're going to close when we say we're going to close. We're going to do this right. And then if you're dealing with somebody else that doesn't have that same mindset, doesn't have the same value system that we possess, they're not the ones that are dealing with the seller. We are. So that's our business. That's our livelihood at stake there. And that's us not honoring our word. And that's a big problem in this business.
Yeah. Got to maintain control. So fast forward to today. Dispositions is working with a buyer. We got, they agreed to our deposit. They agreed to a price. And then things got stalled up because he wanted to show some stuff to his attorney. What was going on with that transaction, Jay?
So the attorney came back with a whole laundry list of things that weren't right. Number one, he wanted to hold the deposit. Number two, he wanted to use his own title company and dictate the transaction. Number three, he wanted to change our closing date with the person. And number four, he wanted us to pay for the realty transfer tax, as he's saying that it's not a closing cost. So, okay. So
let's go through those.
Yeah. So we took that long list. All right. And basically the non-negotiable was using his own title company. Absolutely not. We went down that road. Number one, every time we get a property under contract, we were ready to start title. All right. We open it up with our own title company and we get the ball rolling. We want to know as soon as possible whether this title is clean and we want to also be able to close as quickly as possible. So day one goes to the title company, and that's open. So basically, I had to tell them, like, look, smoking deal. We got multiple offers on the property. Do you want this?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I
And
want it.
yeah, I think it turned out. I mean, he's a real buyer.
Yeah.
This is his first time buying a wholesale transaction, so he couldn't get his mind around the fact that escrow was already open, title was open, title's clear. He just got to write a check.
Right.
And that's part of educating the buyer and not just saying, oh, okay. Didn't you get on a call with the attorney?
Yeah. He's swearing up and down. He was like, my attorney, he wants to use his own title companies. He wants to open escrow himself. I said, look, we're not doing that. It's not going to happen. So basically, I was like, look, man, the bottom line, this is what you want to educate your buyers on. Like, our title company is a legit title company. They're not going to risk losing their license over a rinky-dink $30,000 property. They're not going to do it. They're only making maybe $1,000 on this transaction. So they're going to risk their license and screw somebody over. Like, a lot of people feel like if they don't have their own title company, another title company is going to screw them up. That's what the title insurance is for, and that's what we do. So
yeah, and I think that another thing they need to realize, and that I think the attorney realized when you talk to him, that there's only a few underwriters that are underwriting the insurance, the title insurance. It's not like we're going to, Jim Bob's title insurance underwriting. They're national companies. So
that was the main thing. He wanted to use his own title company. We shut that down. Closing date, he wanted a small extension. And you know what? We were able to grant that. We have a 30-day contract with the seller. We wanted to close in 7 days. He wanted 10 or 15 or whatever. I'm like, sure, no problem. Okay. And that's one other thing. You always want to give your buyer a little less time than what the contract date is with your seller. So just in case, for any reason, you tell your seller, hey, we got to close on the 7th, but your contract is for the 21st with somebody else. If they back out or they can't perform, you still have time to find another buyer and get somebody else in there without having to cancel the contract. So we extended it for him. The realty transfer tax, it was like $100. We said, you know what, we're making a nice spread on this one. We'll take care of that for you. Normally we just put that back on the seller, so that's not a big deal. And the attorney fees, that's always on the buyer. If he wants that, that's on him. So basically, we had to vet him out a little bit. We had to do the fear of loss. I let him know, like, look, these are our terms, and this is what it's going to take for you to do it. So if you want this deal, these are our terms. This is what you have to do. And bottom line, he wanted it. He knew it was a hell of a deal. We had multiple offers on the property. So if he backed out for any reason, we would definitely get it sold, or we'd buy it ourselves, to be honest with you. So that's the one thing that you want to keep in mind. So go ahead, Chatto, elaborate on that. Elaborate on that piece.
I'm sorry, kind of lost you for a second.
So I was saying that you want to always, be in a mindset that this is a great deal.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, so this guy, of the multiple offers we had, obviously he was the highest offer, right? But I, as a wholesaler, need to remain in control of the deal, and I can't let those dollar signs, because they're actually going to cost me a lot more money. I can't let those dollar signs dictate, how I show up and have my conversations with a buyer or a seller. Because if I'm in a position where, like, I'm so concerned about the money, right, I can't keep a clear head. I can't negotiate properly, and that kind of comes through. Like he's going to realize, like, oh wow, well, I can kind of maybe ask for more because he's really desperate to get this deal done, right? And it's like when I come at him with an attitude of, not like an attitude, but when I come at him like, hey, you know what? If this doesn't work for you, it's not a problem. Right. There's no desperation in my voice. I'm not trying to convince you to do the deal. I'm not trying to convince you. If you want to do it, this is the terms. If you don't want to do it, okay. And that's a lot more powerful than, and a much better place to negotiate from than coming from a place of desperation.
Right.
And that puts you just really down when it comes to the negotiations.
So it's a matter of being confident as opposed to having a scarcity mindset. And that's all it is. Once you're confident, it's basically like having a poker face. Right? You got a poker face. Hey, I don't need you. I don't need your money. You could be broke as hell right now. You could be counting on this deal. You have to be in a position where that doesn't matter, and you'll be willing to pull it away from this person just to make sure that you get the terms that you need. All right. I know it's going to be rough, especially you guys with your first deal, or stuff is getting tight. It's going to be hard to do that. But once you do that, I'm telling you, you're in control of your destiny.
Yeah. I mean, for me, what really changed my mindset around it, as we were growing, Jay, and in the beginning, we had some deals where we literally had one buyer that even showed interest, right? And you stepped up to the plate and you told that buyer, you just had that take it or leave it. This is what you're getting type of mentality, and it worked. And like that for me is what switched it, was actually seeing you do that.
Yeah, man, I had to literally yell at a couple buyers. Like he saw what we were making on our assignment fee, and he wanted to renegotiate right there on the spot. I was like, look, get your hand out of my pocket. I said, don't worry about what I'm making on this property.
I know who you're talking. Yep.
Yeah, it was a deal at the price I offered it to you at. You agreed to that price, and if you ever want another deal again, you will come to the table and you'll make this happen. And it worked.
Yep. And guess what? The second deal, we made just as much money on it, and he was happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
you gotta be bold, and you can't be scared, man. You got to talk to people the way, you got to put them in their place. Otherwise, they're going to try to get over you every single time. Just nip it.
And, the other thing I want to put out there is don't be scared of attorneys, right? I mean, sometimes they come with a big bark, but they're logical people. They're smart people.
They are.
Right?
I've dealt with plenty of attorneys, and, sometimes we argue with them too, but bottom line is, my nickname is Jason Ramos Esquire. Hey, it happens, but I don't go into the thing arguing, but I will stand my ground. And usually, there's things that you're not going to bend on. You always want to give something.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to the money and it comes to the title company and giving up control, you don't bend on those things. And that's it.
Absolutely. So cool. Well, I think that the only other thing I want to put out there that I think we maybe kind of touched on a little bit is you were talking, Jay, when you're negotiating with them, whether or not you have another deal, it's like, doesn't matter. It's like you have another buyer. Speaking of that, if you have access to a property, if you can get buyers in, always get them in at the same time.
Yeah.
Because now when it comes to this time where you're doing this negotiation on the back end with your highest bidder, they know that other people have been to the property, that other people are interested in the property. So I want to put that out there too.
Oh yeah. You want to do this thing auction style. If you have a lockbox and that property is vacant, you get as many people in there at the same time as possible. And I'm telling you, it works. We were able to, we did that to one property recently, and not recently, like about a year ago, I say. And we got like $10,000 higher than the asking price that we put it out there for, just by them seeing each other. They started bidding with me right then and there. I was like, whoa. Final and best by this date and this time. I didn't want to do a bidding war right then and there, but we got way more than what we put it out for just by doing that. And it also lets them see that, it's not just me. So I better come correct. If I really want this deal, I got to actually show up. And they're not going to lowball you if they see other people. So it's a good tactic to deal with buyers. So cool.
Cool.
I think that's it, right?
A couple other things, a little bit of housekeeping. We did open up our Facebook group, so that is live. There's a link down below. You click on that link. You fill in your email address, and you'll get an email invitation to the Facebook group. So go ahead and do that. We're still in its infancy, so there's a lot of intimacy, a lot of ability to ask questions and go back and forth before it gets to be too big. So now's the time to join. And as always, if you have questions, you can reach us at
questions@goodvibesre.com. Guys, hope to hear from you.
I'm having trouble getting my finger to do it. There we go.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, guys. As always, every single Wednesday, and good vibes always.